so much for coming today. We're here at the Ritual store. I have a kitty in Venice, California. Ritual is a company that makes vitamins. If you're not super familiar with us, we make vitamins and supplements that are traceable from the science behind our formulations to the sources of our ingredients. And today is the last session in our Make Yourself series. And we're going to talk about a topic that's dear to my heart. But first, I'll introduce myself. I'm Fiel. I'm the VP of Creative at Ritual, which means I'm responsible for the team that does a lot of the things that you experience in the real world of Ritual, including the concept behind the store, as well as the way we talk about the science behind our products. We always try to make things accessible and fun. And my team is responsible for that. I'm also a mom. I have 2 kids. I have an 8-year-old, he's my youngest, and I have an 11-year-old who is my eldest, and she's, I would say, going on 21, which is an entirely different topic. But that kind of sets the stage for like my life. So I'm not a new mom. I've been at this for many years, but I'm also not an unsolicited giver of advice. Like everybody who's a mom here knows, get advice. I mean, we get advice for so many things, but for sure parents get just way too much advice. And I am like, I keep my space and let people come to me. But there's one piece of advice that I give everyone who's becoming a new mom. It's that you really need to have people around you who have babies that are of similar age, because you need a crew, to support you, and that's it. I don't say anything else. They can ask me about bassinets and baby wipe warmers. I have lots of opinions, but I don't really share it unless people ask. And that's what we're here to talk about today with these amazing newish moms. We're talking about what everybody who's becoming a parent needs, which is a community post-baby. So 3 amazing, super creative, newish moms. I'm going to start at the left, or all the way at the end. This is QUIGLEY, aka QUIGLEY online. She's a content creator, and she's also mom to Max, who might make an appearance later. He's actually a Mathis dad. And Ariel, Kaye. Ariel is the CEO, founder of Parachute Home, which makes exquisite home goods. They're based here in LA, actually really close to Ritual's office, which I love. And she's mom to 2 kids, Lou and Van. And right here to my left, Elise Peterson. Elise is a visual artist, as well as the person behind an amazing podcast called Cool Moms, which inspired the title for this series. And Elise has 1 child, Sergeant. So let's start with thinking back to that time when you were all new moms. That for a lot of people can be a very lonely time, because you have this new human being who you don't really know. You're getting to know them, they're like brand new. And you're also finding your footing with routines with this new person. While your family, your friends, your partner may be going back into their usual routines. So how have you all started with QUIGLEY, because I think your child is the youngest. Yeah, let's start with you. How did you stay social and connected in that time?
Well, it was the middle of the pandemic. So my son was born in 2020. So I think that just the combination of, postpartum and then also like the thick of it could have been very isolating. But I actually feel like I leaned on my community digitally, which is crazy because it still doesn't, you don't have that human-to-human connection. I would have loved to have surrounded myself with all of the amazing women in my life, but for safety reasons, we were hunkered down. And digitally, that actually opened me up to a lot of different communities that I didn't really know existed. And I leaned heavily on my Instagram community and just chatting with people that I honestly had never even met in my entire life before over DMs on Instagram. And it blew my mind how supportive people were.
It sounds like you have like a very unique 21st century new mom experience. Yeah. Ariel, how about you? How did you stay connected and social?
Yeah, so I have 2 kids. One's 3.5 and one is 18 months. So I had the experience of having a baby in January of 2019, pre-pandemic, and I really leaned heavily into community. So I signed up for a baby group, which is a program that's in Santa Monica, but there's baby groups all over the place. And I had a group of like 12 moms who all of the babies were within, 6 weeks of each other. And that was in person, and it was a weekly opportunity for me to just get out of the house, which as a new mom can be really challenging to do, especially in those early days. And just be together, and that fostered also a community like via text, and there was just a lot of connection, a lot of checking in. I also participated in a mommy and me yoga group for new moms. So I really I wanted as much community as possible. I wanted to really feel supported. I was also fortunate to have a few close friends who had babies within a few weeks, and so there was a lot of walks with the stroller and just trying to share information and remind each other that everything is just for now and things get easier. And then I had a pandemic baby, which was totally different. And I leaned on some virtual groups because I had already had that experience offline, and I knew that there was a lot there, but it was different. I mean, it was definitely more isolating, and I felt really grateful to have had that pre-COVID baby experience. But I still think there's so much incredible community that can be found online and virtually, which was helpful.
Man, you did the things I wanted to do.
I
didn't do any of that. I really like the idea of groups and moms, but when I had my son in 2018, we were living in New York and no one had a baby. And everyone was really selfish, and we were all consumed with our own lives. So which is quite honestly why I started Cool Moms Podcast, because I didn't have any friends that had children. And I was like, well, you all still want to hang out with me? Do you think I'm still cool? Do I think I'm still cool? So I really leaned really heavily on the community that I created on the podcast, because those were the only other mothers that I knew were the people that I was interviewing at the time. And so that was incredibly helpful and really affirming in terms of just me personally and maintaining a sense of self and my passions. And now that my son is 4, friends are starting to get pregnant and have the babies and do the things. So I'm really excited for when I have another child and I can do the yoga group and take walks. But fortunately, my friends were all really excited for me to have a child. So they're like, yeah, we'll be all the aunties. So we have a very strong auntie team that like to come in and do the fun. Shout out, you need the auntie team who came through and cook the food and would take the walks and do all the fun stuff when I'm too tired. And then my online community really supported me on the thick of motherhood things, for sure.
I want to go back to QUIGLEY and also Ariel. How was it, coming out of the pandemic when things were opening up? You had the experience of pre-pandemic community for your baby and becoming a new parent, and then slightly different for Van, right? Being in lockdown. QUIGLEY, you didn't have that. So how was it for you emerging into a more social world, and having the opportunity to connect or reconnect with people?
Yeah, it was a little bit scary at first, just testing safety levels and stuff like that. But pretty soon afterwards, I was able to enroll Maxie in music classes. And that was something that I was really looking forward to. And I invited a couple other of my friends who had babies at the same time to sign up for the exact same class. It was honestly a little bit more for the moms than it was for the babies, because they I think he was 6 months at the time. He really couldn't do much with some musical instruments.
Yeah.
But yeah, exactly. But it was just an excuse that we'd all get coffee or smoothies afterwards, and it was just an excuse to kind of get together and just get out of the house.
Mm-hmm. How was that transition for you? Especially 2 kids, it's there's all this complexity.
So I, early pandemic, had a pod of some of my closest friends who all had kids around the same age, the first ones, and three of four of us got pregnant during the pandemic and had babies together during the pandemic. So we were isolated and we were doing our own thing, but with three other families. So I think, and partially because I knew how much I needed that, having gone through it with a community the first time. So, you know, there were definitely moments where, you know, we were home and you know, not seeing people, but we had a great group, a small group, but like we made very clear rules and we stayed connected. And I think partially because I know myself, I love being a mom. There's nothing that gives me more joy, but I also love being a mom with my friends and co-parenting with friends and that community, and like going to the park is like, I mean, I don't think I could do it otherwise. So we made sure to continue to have that connection. But poor Van, I mean, like, you know, I brought Lou everywhere when she was a baby. I mean, to dinner, I mean, she was like, you know, she was an appendage. Like, she was always with me. And Van, I was just like, I'll see you later, but like, I'm like, you know, so like, I actually brought him to a birthday party the other day, and I like realized that it may have been the first birthday party that the two of us been together, and he was just like, people? Like, not at the park?
You have a channel on like parenting, like more like beyond one kid.
Yeah, because it's like he's napping all the time, and like my daughter's 3 and so fun, and so I'm always just like, I'll see you later. But yeah, I'm starting to bring him out, and I'm like also realizing that he probably needs more of that. Just to but yeah.
It's interesting because QUIGLEY had to be very intentional because of all of these like constraints, like you can't go and meet up with people in real life. Ariel had kind of both experiences, and Elise super intentional because you're the first in your friend group, it sounds like,
for sure.
and you made this podcast.
Yeah.
Were there other things that were organic or extremely intentional that you did to build community? Maybe lean on the organic part. What happened unexpectedly that led into your community post-baby?
I think, well, you know, listening to QUIGLEY, I did remember I did do like some music classes, but what I found a lot, especially as at the time being an artist and a freelancer, and I didn't keep typical 9 to 5 hours, when I did these like mommy and me groups, it was me and a lot of nannies, so it wasn't the same community. You know, I didn't see moms that felt like me, that like were from a similar age group and that sort of thing. So every now and again, I would make sure to like make a comment to a mom, like, oh, that I would see in like Fort Greene Park. Oh, I love the shoes, or I love, you know, like find the things that you can have.
How we connect.
Right, inside some conversation. Yeah, kill them with compliments. Hi, I want to be a friend. You look so cool. Wow. So I would do that. Every now and again, that would work, but it's awkward. It's like, to say it was like having a dog. But you know how people, when you have dogs in the park and then the dogs want to play and then you have to play, that would give me so much anxiety about going to a playground and your child wanting to engage with another child, and then you then have to engage with the parent, and like, am I socially equipped to do that? And am I interested in this parent? So that was always interesting, but in an organic sense, sometimes it would really work out because I would meet parents that I was like, oh, I like your sneakers, you know, because it's also started superficially. And then we would engage in conversation, it would be nice. But I think for me, the best way was really online, because then we could cut a lot of the crap and we could just get to honest conversation and real struggles and real triumphs. And so for me, that was most successful, was that community for sure. Now it's a little bit easier. Now he like goes to school, and so I meet parents that way that are like-minded, and that's really nice.
I know. I mean, I definitely feel like I've done some of that park, like, hey, hi. Yeah, right, they're the same age. Right. Cool. Right. But yeah, I mean, you know, classes were definitely helpful, and I had similar experiences. I mean, I like tried to For me, I didn't really take maternity leave with either of my kids, which is not something that I like to say because it's like I'm bragging in any way. It's just like that was my choice, and it's something that I think I actually regret, and I definitely offer great maternity leave for people that work in my company. But I think what I was able to do, and what I chose to do was, and I still do this, was just block times off during my week that I'm like very publicly and clearly like doing things with my kids. So like I do take my kids to music class, where I make sure that I can drop off at camp or pick up from school and things that, so that I can get out there and meet other moms and connect with people at the park and just like see how, things are going outside of the house. And so that's been, helpful, but I think there's like a mom code, like people just, they look out for each other and, and like, at a restaurant or a thing, or like, oh, you dropped a toy. I think there's just, there are really incredible things that happen, with community because of moms and because of dogs too.
Quigley, any organic.
Yeah, there was definitely some surprise for me in the community that I just randomly built in my little neighborhood. So, we have our daily walks. We walk the dogs and the baby twice a day, and I think maybe just the neighborhood we're in is full of young parents, and so we'd see the same people, and start to circulate. And what I think was kind of nice about that is that there wasn't this like pressure necessarily to be besties with these people, but we saw them every day, and we saw them grow or their kids grow at the same time as Max was growing, and so we'd see the different stages, and every time we'd pass each other, we'd just kind of take a minute, stop, and just like talk about what we were experiencing in that current moment, and then we'd just keep going. And there was just low pressure, and I got all of them saved in my phone in a group that's like Kathleen, neighbor, Laura, neighbors. And so then I can clump them all together when I'm like wondering like, hey, like should we do a block party, or should we, sign kids up for swimming lessons together, and I can kind of, or do you know the best preschool in the neighborhood? So I can just shoot them a text. If it's something that's actually location specific, it can be very useful.
That's cool. That leads me into wondering like what are unexpected things that have come through your community, like something that you've learned or like a big impact on your family? Let's start with Elise.
Oh my gosh. That, the people that you thought that would be there and be supportive could be the first people to fall off, and the people that you completely don't anticipate to be able to lean on and show up in a real way are the people that do. And so being able to really stay open and stay accepting of help from unexpected places. I've had people that we met, had a coffee once, and we had a bunch of mutual friends, and I had an event to go to, and they were like, oh, I'll watch your baby for 6 hours. It's okay. Or, friends that you've had for decades that don't know how to show up and support you in motherhood, so they just kind of trail off. And that was really challenging and really hurtful. But then the friends that do step up and that are really excited to be with you through this huge life transition, whether they have children or not, was just really heartwarming and the thing that keeps me going. And it makes me feel great. I'm like, wow, I really have cultivated a community of people who are able to see me today and through challenging transition.
Similar thing happened to me. I had a girlfriend who had maybe met at like 2 events, and during my pregnancy, she was checking in on me all the time, and I'm like, oh, we're friends now, like we're really close. And then like right after I gave birth, she came over with like 2 huge things of frozen casseroles, and I was like, wow, this is how you show up for a mom. Like she just swooped right in. She'd come in, she'd like check in on me all the time, and I was just so grateful for that. It really made me think, oh, this is how I want to show up for my friends when they have babies.
Yeah, I think until you have a baby, you don't really understand what moms need. And I feel like there were a lot of people after I had my first that I wanted to reach out to and be like, sorry for being the worst friend. Like, I didn't know, It's like, there's not a lot of, like, you think that, like, texting someone or, like, call, like, is enough. But, like, you don't realize how important, like, and especially how easy it is now to, like, you know, I mean, I have a friend that just had a baby and I just like sent her a bunch of soups from here. Well, you know, it's like, it's so easy. It takes 20 seconds to like sense food and, you know, do those kind of like simple things. But yeah, I mean, I was just the question that you're asking before, I feel like my favorite thing about this community that I built and people that like I'm not even that close with in real life, but people that are my mom friends, like from baby group and stuff that I don't actually hang out with, but just like the text to be like, is everyone's child like acting like a full psychopath between the hours of like 7 and 8? Like, did bedtime just go from being the easiest thing ever to being like negotiations with like an actual therapist? Like, what is going on? Like, you know, and like everyone should be like, yep, same thing over here. And you're just like, okay, cool. Like, I'm not gonna lose my mind, or I am gonna lose my mind, but like, I'm not. We're not. I don't need to like things are okay. Like, this is all fine.
I just had a moment like that this weekend. So my daughter's 11. She's gonna be horrified if she sees this out on the internet, but whatever, we're just gonna go with it. She got herself dressed up for a show, went to the Ford Theater, it was really fun, and I was like, are you wearing underwear under the shorts? And she was like, no, this is an ongoing thing, right? And I'm like horrified that this is an issue, my 11-year-old daughter. And I took a picture of her and posted it on my close friends on Instagram, and I had like all these notes. Some of you may have seen it on my Instagram, close friends. Like, she picked this hat, like she picked these shorts, I hope there's underwear under here, she's like wearing this crop top, but her belly button's clean, and it was amazing how many of my mom friends DM'd me and they're like, we have the same problem with underwear. I just felt like relieved that it was just me, because I think it's a person, like it's a reflection of like my parents.
My daughter's a nudist, so you know, I see her at the coffee shop.
I'm like, is there no underwear problem?
Yeah.
I know, I'm thinking through this. I know, like maybe it's me, maybe the problem is me. Like change the way I look at this thing.
I convinced her to keep her underwear on, but she'll take off all the clothes. So, you know, I'm not sure which is better.
Here's a question that I'm doing a hard pivot here because I'm so eager to ask this question. So you all have, I would say, very creative careers. I feel like defining you as working mom is like not enough because there is so much like creative spirit and energy behind what you do outside of being a mom. And I'm so curious, because this is something that I think about a lot. How have you found the intersection of community post-baby and community of like your career? Like, who are those people in the middle of that Venn diagram of mother, parenting world, and career world? How have you found them? What is that kind of like opened a pathway for you?
So I will just say that, so when I joined baby group, I joined a working moms baby group. And so everyone in that group was a working mom. They have an option for non-working moms too. And I mean, at that point, because it was in person, it was like non-working moms could meet during the day, and working moms, it was like in the evening or in the late afternoon. But for me, it's been really important to just have a community of people that I know prioritize their career as much as they prioritize motherhood. And I know for me that I get so much energy and so much happiness out of my career. And so I don't really ever look at it as a sacrifice. Like, it's fulfilling for me, and it's important for my child to also see me work hard and find energy and excitement and passion professionally, and have it not just be only about, my kids. So, but I do think, it's like just finding people that relate to that and that share a similar ethos and have a similar drive and have a similar desire to prioritize work, so that you can also commiserate when that balance is inevitably challenged.
I think I had like a lot of role models on social media that I looked up to, and I was like, okay, they're a mom and they're an amazing entrepreneur, and I sort of like modeled a lot of how I wanted to set up my life around theirs in a weird way. I mean, we all are very influenced by other moms. And now I feel like I don't necessarily have it all figured out. Like, I'm still new. Like, even though he's almost 2, I still feel like I'm new. There are communities that I feel like I am aware of that I haven't immersed myself in, one of which is BUMO. Have you guys heard of BUMO?
No.
really cool workspace where you can actually, it's like parenting and entrepreneurs. And there's like a section where the kids play and also a section where the moms work. And so that's something I've been wanting to try out just because I think it would be a great community, good way to meet people and also, you know, have your kid right there if you need to check in.
Love that.
I feel like the answer to this, your answer is like so obvious because.
Yeah, I quite selfishly created the space that features mothers, and I have conversations with mothers who prioritize their work, and that was really important for me. But I think the very beginning of that, before I was even conscious of it, when I was still like in art school and living in New York and working as a nanny, my mentor's big sister, Mia, she's a graphic designer, and she was the first mother that I met that really prioritized her work. And so when I took the job, I'm like, wait, you're gonna be at home while I'm here? Why? Like, why do you need me? I didn't quite understand it. I was like, oh, because she's doing her thing. She's working in her office, she's taking meetings, and I had never quite seen that prioritization of passion and purpose alongside motherhood before. And so I was like, oh, this is cool. This is very different from the way in which I was raised. And so I think I really hung on to that. And when I became pregnant, still to this day, she's a person I reach out to, but then that led me to wanting to reach out and build community with other mothers who live very similarly, because again, you know, for me, to your point, it's really important for my child and my children to see me living in my purpose and my passion and knowing that like they are not the source of my joy because you will be deeply disappointed. Yes, because your children are their own people. Yes, so that was really important for me. So yeah, that's why I started Cool Moms.
Yeah, it's been interesting though, like shifting from, because I used to be in an office every day and now I'm home most days, and so having kids around and trying to create boundaries and let my kids know that like this is my office space, like this is not, you know, they'll pop in and say hi and it's cute and they like say hi to everyone on Zoom and you know, we like look at that for the moment, but then I'm like, goodbye. Goodbye. So, but it's just been a different experience for sure, like being around them, which I love for many reasons, but also I'm like, goodbye.
Yes. I've had moments, my kids are a little bit older, like I mentioned, I've had moments where I was on a Zoom call with our CEO founder and like I could hear a meltdown coming down the hallway and I'm like, I gotta go, somebody's crying. And then there was one time I had like both kids under the desk fighting and I'm trying to like, you know, keep things okay. Speaking of community and work and these kinds of things, Jane, who introduced us to Elise, she's our creative director of writing at Ritual. She has a fairly new baby, and you know we're all like cool. Like we understand when you know kids get sick, and we can like support each other. You know, she had like both kids sick one week, and she was at home with her nanny was also sick. So like things like that, we can like support each other at work in this like new environment, which I think is really special. It's another kind of community because we spend so much time with each other over Zoom. Yeah. Before we move into questions, let's do like advice. Let's talk about advice. Elise, you mentioned having your friend group and being the first to become a mom and going through the experience of shifting, not having your expectations met of certain people. How, now looking back at that, how would you, like what advice would you give to someone on like continuing to nurture those friendships, those pre-baby friendships?
Yeah, I think that understand for the non-parent friend, it will be imbalanced. So it's kind of your duty in a lot of ways to like show up for this person in a time of need and maybe have to reach out more. But also I think not being afraid to take your child to any and everywhere.
Yeah.
I was very similar, like you're an appendage. My son came to me on artist residencies, like to all kinds of events. So that's why he's not here, because he's come to so many things that you would think that this was his panel, which he's done before, and he would get up here and like click on it. So like he's like too comfortable. taking your child places and I think remembering the things that brought you joy before a child and figuring out how to integrate those things into your life, and most importantly, not being afraid to ask for help. As a very like self-sufficient person, that was really challenging for me until I'm like on the floor of my bathroom with the door shut crying, and I'm like, you could just call someone. You don't have to do this. Yeah. So that's my advice.
One of my favorite pieces of advice that I share with everyone, and I am also very sensitive to not to not push advice, but I have found that I'm a pretty chill mom, and so a lot of my friends are like, you always seem so chill, and I'm like, well, that's a choice, like, you know, like, and this is how I do it, but like, I'm just gonna choose to be chill and like not be, like, I have a lot of anxiety in lots of other parts of my life, but like with my kids, like, I just really believe in like being chill, but that wasn't the advice. The advice is just that like, everything is just for now. Like, it's just like, the good days are just for now, the bad days are just for now, like it's all just for now. And so I think when you can like embrace that nothing is permanent, everything is impermanent. And at least for me, like I'm going through like a crazy sleep regression with my 3.5-year-old, and she's crawling into bed every night and waking up, and it's just been like a disaster. But you know, then there's these moments where I like look over and she's like sleeping so sweet next to me, and I'm like, this is just for now. Like, you know, in a year she's not gonna wanna like, maybe she will still later, but you know, at some point, and I never co-slept with my kids, and I'm like, I've got this like sweet girl who's just, you know, and I'm, you know, I went, whatever, this is kind of time, I went full into the like, I need to lock the door, like I need to lock her, and then I was like, you know what, I don't, like this is just for now, like she is needing this support and like wants these cuddles, and like they're so sweet. And so I don't know, I just feel like reminding yourself always that it's for now, it's for now, it's for now. You can just put that on the end of every sentence, like it's just for now.
I think for me, as far as like just general overall parenting advice that I would have, my biggest thing that I stuck with was stop trying to solve everything. I got a lot of anxiety and a lot of that like nervous energy, which is the opposite of your chill, from like a little thing would go wrong, and then I would like immediately Google everything. I would try and find like 10 different books for different solutions. I'd order all those books and I wouldn't read any of them because I didn't have the time. And I was just, the fight was what was making things harder. What I was focusing on was growing. So every time there was something I was confused with, or I was at this standstill and I was like, couldn't figure out what to do next as a mom, my pivot was, do I really need to solve this right now? Or can I just let go? And it will solve itself. And a lot of times it did. And then my advice for keeping that community, I think the biggest tool I leaned on was FaceTime. And I know a lot of people really don't do that much, but during the pandemic, we all like amped that up to the max. And so I had a couple of my girlfriends who were also moms, who we would just FaceTime randomly, no plan, call, just FaceTime. And, you know, we'd both be nursing, just like talking to each other while we nursed. And that was really a great thing to do a lot.
And the last question, which I'm going to unofficially make a rapid fire question, like what's something that you're looking forward to with, you know, the summer and being more social, like the world being more open and children being around, like what's something that you're looking forward to doing to your community or
I was gonna say time apart. I mean, we are gonna take a family vacation, which I'm really looking forward to. But honestly, you know, I think there are blessings in many family structures, and so I get to co-parent with my son's father, who doesn't live in the same state. So then I get weeks off, so I can reflect, you know, be myself, do whatever I want to do. So I really look forward to that, and then shuttling him off to my mother for a little while. Like he goes on tour every summer to like all of our families. So I really work. Yeah, exactly. So I look forward to that, and then I'm like hyped to see him come the fall. So I would love that.
Yeah, I'm leaving my kids. I'm going away. So I leave on Monday. I'm going for 10 days. I can't wait. I have like absolutely no interest in traveling with my kids right now, and I'm not afraid to say it. So they can can be happy at home with their routine. It's just, I mean,
I'm totally with you.
turn 6 and 8 is when I'm gonna start taking them places. Or maybe 4 and 6, I don't know, whatever, that's where I'm at right now. I have no desire, yeah, I have no desire.
I'm jealous of both of you. I'm jealous of both of you right now. I'm looking forward to spending time with my niece is 1 year older than Matt's, and she lives in Oakland with my sister and brother-in-law, and so I'm really excited. We're gonna take a family vacation together for my dad's 70th. So I'm excited to just see the two of them play together. Like their best friend meeting. No, they've been together a couple of times, but it's just
It's more fun.
this will be our first vacation together. So to see them play on the beach, I'm just like, that's what my tunnel vision is like. That's what I can't wait for.
Well, thank you. Let's open it up for some questions, everybody. Anyone have any questions?
How many people are
Question.
I was gonna get into teacher mode. I was like, how many people are moms?
This is kind of I didn't hear who has 1 or 2 kids, but this is I just had he's almost 2, so my second kid is almost 2. My older one is 4, and it was sort of like what you were saying, my older one with baby group and with all these parent groups or whatever, it was easy, I took him everywhere. And now with 2, I feel like my second has no friends. Oh, and I should say, with my first, I had like 8 pregnant friends at the same time. And my second, I don't have friends, he doesn't have friends, the older one's in school. So I just sort of, I don't know if there's any experience with that. And with the pandemic, there was such a lack of community in that way. I don't know.
Ariel.
Yeah, I just started doing, so my son's 18 months, and I mean, he has a nanny, so he's got like a nanny crew friends at the park, but I just started signing up for some fun classes for him through Outside the Box and Zuga, and like they're all like West Side things to get him a little bit more in the mix. Yeah, but like I said, I mean, I like never take him any, I like just was, he's now finally on one app, so I feel like it's easier. But yeah, I just started signing up for some random classes because I felt also like he was not having any of the socialization that she had, but.
Exactly.
It's hard.
Oh.
Show everybody your motorcycle. What do I do now?
So cute.
It's his pen.
Yeah.
Any questions for Matt? It's hard with 2 kids. My kids are older, they're in elementary school and in junior high, and my second kid, I just confessed to Jane, our copywriter, our creative director of writing, that my second kid has never actually had a birthday party because he was little and we were busy, and then the pandemic happened and we couldn't really have birthday parties. We'll have like a meal, with grandparents, but he hasn't had a party with his friends. Yeah, it's hard, and I didn't have time to do classes or anything, but I did all that stuff.
Yes. I feel like my second's just kind of like happy to be here though.
That's so true.
He's just
so true.
Yeah, he's just like cool, like.
Yes.
They don't know any different.
Yeah,
And
it's just
I
like
also would, I look at them and I'm like, you don't need anything, like you have each other, figure it out.
So true.
It's like, so, I mean, I'm a first child, and I feel like I look at my sister now totally different. I'm like, ooh, second kid, probably didn't get anything. Like,
As the younger sister, there are definitely perks.
I know. Yeah, it's funny though, till like the whole second kid thing is, especially at this age, I feel like it's pretty real.
It's like so real.
Yeah. And the pandemic definitely changed,
Yeah.
but yeah.
Any other questions? I have a question. How do you all retain your coolness, like outside of work, but just, you're like so fashionable, and how do you do that with kids? Oh my goodness.
I don't know, clothes make me happy.
Yeah.
So I shop for fun. that brings me. I do the things that make me happy. And I'm fortunate that my life is set up that way that I can't do them all the time. I can't do them with the frequency that I used to do them previously. But if I don't look like myself, then like other things don't fall into place for me. So specifically on like the like presenting a certain way, that's my shtick. So I really get into that.
With that, and also what Ariel mentioned earlier, taking my kids to things. So there isn't, like, we would go to a lot of like gallery openings. And museums, and like, you know, there's always this line where like, you know how to be at art arts. Once you walk out of this car into that space, you know how to be at rep art. And then they're around all these like creative people. So, you know, they're just used to this community, and that helps me be me. Like I basically didn't stop doing anything. Yeah. I continued it and found a way, like Elise mentioned, to like integrate them.
Yeah, same. Like I love having people over. My kids like love my friends now, whether they have kids or not, you know, like I just, but also not hanging out with my kids.
Right.
I keep saying that, but
Yeah,
I do love it.
I'll say for me, coolness is kind of a mindset, and one of the things that I lost touch with very early on postpartum was reading and podcasts. Like I wasn't actually doing much of it. I'm like, I have all the time in the world, but I didn't actually do it. So I kind of maintain my coolness by just making sure that I give myself the gift of that time, whether it's just a 10-minute walk to listen to a podcast that inspires me, or having a book by the side of my bed about the mind-gut connection, which is what I'm reading right now. It's real good. It just keeps me feeling relevant and like myself, because I love to learn, and yeah, that's cool in my opinion.
Yeah, I want to offer a little bit of advice. Restaurants and eating out with kids. I have some mom friends who are like completely no to taking their kids out to a restaurant, like young kids. But I got this amazing advice from somebody I worked with whose kids are maybe a decade older than my kids. So it was long before I became a mom. And he said his kids knew how to behave because he just took them from, you know, a very young age to a restaurant, and they just knew the rules. Meanwhile, his brother would bring his kids, and the cousins would be like running around. Like they just weren't used to being in that environment and like practicing how to behave in that environment.
We take Max to a restaurant like every week.
Yeah.
We do that too. But then when you have the friends come along with the kids that don't want you.
No. Oh, I'm honest. I'm like, yeah, we keep doing
That's rough. I mean, I'll admit, I've told my kids, like, did you see what happened?
Yeah,
at
that's
lunch
we don't do
today?
that.
Yeah.
Do that. Yeah.
Not at our house.
Yeah. Use it as a learning moment.
Absolutely.
How many moms are here? How many fairly new moms? Like, I'm very young there.
Yesterday.
How old are
He's gonna be 2 next month, July 6th.
Nice.
Yeah.
It's like next week.
Yeah.
Yeah, basically.
Congrats, Mom. Amazing. And you have 2.
I have 2, almost 2, and a 4-year-old.
That sounds like.
Are we like the same? 3.5 and 1.5. Yeah.
Okay.
And how about you? I have a 1-month-old boy.
Wow.
Oh my goodness.
How old is baby here?
She is 2 months.
Wow.
So cute.
That's when they're just like blobs and you
Yeah.
and do everywhere.
Yeah. Friends to do it.
Yeah.
Travel, trips on a plane.
Yeah.
Yeah, I go take trips.
Yeah.
We take it on paper too.
Because they don't.
Yeah.
Right.